Have you been feeling discouraged lately? Maybe a little stuck, maybe overwhelmed. Perhaps you're feeling like things just aren't going as well for you as you'd like them to be. Or maybe that you're just not as far along on something or in life as you think you should have been. Well, I have felt very much that way myself recently. And so I wanted to share with you today 5 different things that I have done that help shift me out of my funk. And I know that, at least I hope that if you try these, that you too will find them helpful for you in getting you moving forward again and lifting and shifting the way you're feeling currently and getting you to where you're moving forward, feeling good about what you're doing and where you're going in life. One thing in particular that I'm going to share with you today really kind of surprised me about how much it was really contributing to the way I was feeling and the way, as a result, that things were going in life for me. And so I'm really anxious and excited to share all of this with you today because I think it could really help you too. If you're new here, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Drop me a note in the comments below. Tell me about yourself. Would love to hear from you. I am Julie with J&B Living. I'm the owner of J&B Living. And here on my channel, I like to share thoughts and ideas of ways that you can do things to help you create a life that you love by living with intention. I've also am the founder of the Art of Intentional Living community, which is a community where we support each other in creating amazing lives and living with more intention. I drop a lot of resources and am very active in that community. Would love to have you be a part of that as well. It's a great group of people. So we'd love to welcome you in. So we'll go ahead and get started with today's video though, as we share about 5 different things that can help you shift any discouragement that you may be feeling. Oh, also one more thing. If all of what I've been talking about here so far is really resonating with you, just a real quick reminder, if you might want to go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any other videos that I may have in the future that also may help you in your journey to creating a more intentional and amazing life. So I told you I'd been feeling a bit discouraged recently. I had a really tough week last week. I missed an appointment. I fell for a phishing scam in a really stupid and bad way. I was feeling discouragement over where I was with certain projects and things that I wanted to be doing with the business. So really feeling a lot of discouragement. And the first thing that when I recognize that that's happening, that I do is I go to, typically I use my journal, but you really just need a piece of paper. But what I like to do, and what I did, is I wrote down a list of 10 things that I can do right now or in the very near future. And in all honesty, like my business coach had suggested that I do that with respect to my business. Typically, even outside of business, like when I've noticed discouragement feelings from a personal standpoint, typically what I have always done and recommended to people to do is to go ahead and write down at least 5 things that you can do right now or in the very near future, like today, next day, this week, that type of thing. So this is something that can be extremely helpful right away in helping get you out of that feeling of discouragement, because you're getting things moving. You are making momentum in a direction, and that can be sometimes enough just to get the ball rolling again and get you moving in the right direction. Essentially, what happens is instead of your brain spiraling about all the doubts and things that are not going well for you, it shifts the direction and the focus into one that's more forward momentum and that's more in a creative and brainstorming type mode instead. And so it really does shift the energy of where you are and what you're doing very quickly. That said, I did all that and I still felt this like heavy discouragement, which is not typical, I'll be honest. So there are other things that you can do as well. So I went back to my journal and I wrote down, well, why am I feeling why am I feeling this way? And one of the first things that I came up with and that I had written down was, I need more me time. And so I think this can also be a really typical thing, is not having enough nurturing for yourself. So if you are able to cut back on the things you're doing and really do some serious self-care, that can be extremely helpful. But if you journal the question of why do I feel this way, you may get some interesting answers. It could be that you need to shift directions in a big way entirely with something that you're working on or where you are in your life. It may be something closer to what I came up with, is you needing balance in a different way in your life. And then once you figure out what's driving the feelings and get to the root of that through the process of writing down and letting what's happening inside with your emotions make it to paper, those insights that you can then take and say, well, what can I do differently and what can I change in my life right now to address those feelings and help alleviate them? So again, back into that brainstorming mode, but now with a little bit of a different focus, because you're really getting down to a little bit closer to what the root of the problem really is. So the third thing that I wanted to suggest to you is something that I have become much more aware of in recent years, and just because I've been really noticing and paying attention to what my body's telling me more so than I did when I was younger. And I happen to also be listening to one of Huberman Lab's podcasts this week, and it kind of further strengthened what I already somewhat noticed myself, and that is when you don't have sufficient and adequate rest, then your willpower and your tenacity is going to decrease. And I find this so true and so prevalent whenever I am really starting to just feel under the weather, not well rested, which was another thing that had really happened to me this week. I don't think I had enough rest. My workouts felt really, really hard, harder than normal. And I was getting tired early at night. And I know for a fact that was really impacting how my mind was perceiving things and really increasing the level of discouragement that I was feeling. And so one of the things, once I recognized that, last night I went to bed when I got tired, and that's one of the things that I really encourage you to do as well, is when you feel tired like that, go ahead and lean into that feeling and don't try to fight it. Don't try to still, stay up till 10, 11 o'clock or whatever that time is that's magic in your mind of when you should go to bed. Lean into that feeling of tired and go ahead and go to bed. Get that rest that your body is telling you that you need. So that's what I did last night. I didn't set my alarm for this morning. I went to bed early, and oh my gosh, when I woke up this morning, totally different in terms of what I was feeling, in terms of my optimism and the energy level of feeling like I wanted to go make things happen, if you will. So real important one there. So the fourth thing is, when you're feeling these heavy feelings of discouragement and self-doubt and that type of thing, it's a really good idea to just give yourself some grace. Forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made. I told you I'd done some really stupid things this week, but we're all human. We all make mistakes, and this is a really good time to remember that. It's also a really good time not to try and compare yourself to someone else and what they've managed to do, especially when you're thinking that, oh, so-and-so has managed to do something much more quickly than I have. You don't know what kind of support other people have. You don't know what's happening in their lives. So it's kind of unfair for you to measure yourself up against other people because everyone's situation is so completely different. So again, give yourself some grace. You definitely deserve it. And then the fifth thing that I would suggest, and this is particularly helpful if you're finding it really hard to give yourself some grace, and this is something that I actually did this week in my journal as well, is to write down the things that you're doing well at, or write down the things that have been going well for you in your life. And then when you have a list of these things, take a look at them and allow yourself to really feel some gratitude for them, really feel deep levels of gratitude to the extent that you can. And what this is going to help you do is put your brain and your emotions on, if we have this continuum with discouragement being over on this side and motivation and feeling good on this side, we're shifting things. When we're feeling gratitude, we are moving more in a direction to feeling good and helping get yourself back on track to feel motivated again and feel like you do have what it takes to get things done, because you're reminding yourself of what you already have been able to accomplish. So that's the 5 things that I would recommend if you're feeling discouragement, self-doubt, etc. I hope you have found all of these very helpful. If you have, and you know of someone else that this might be really helpful to them as well, I hope you will forward a link to this video, share with them, share the love, and appreciate you spending this time with me here. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your week.